Hey folks, I'm back here in the 2020 Aston Martin Superleggera DBS, or DBS Superleggera, whatever way they want me to say it, I'm not too sure. But I'm going to show you the sport mode, the best mode in this entire vehicle. Let me adjust my seat up for my short legs here. So if you get up here, you can see on the dash you have an S Plus and a little shock absorber with a red dot on it and a plus. That's fun mode. When you start the car, usually, it starts off in, one too many button pushes. Usually starts off in the default mode, which is GT and the regular suspension. This ride's relatively nice. It's not too rough. You don't bounce around all that much. Cruising down the highway at 70, 75 miles an hour, you don't feel every single crack in the road, so that's a positive. But you don't get the fun. If you listen, it still sounds okay in GT mode, but it's not as fun. Click the suspension button once. The suspension button's over here, by the way, and your sport mode is over here. So you push the suspension button once, it puts you in sport suspension. Push the sport button once, it puts you in sport mode. This suspension firms up a little bit, steering wheel gets a little bit tighter. In sport mode, your valves on the exhaust open up a little bit, things get a little bit more responsive, your brakes get a little bit more responsive, so let's give it a listen. So you can hear a little bit of gurgling going on there. Alright, so you got a little bit of gurgle going on there. Now, this is a mode I spent the entire week in. Drove my wife absolutely insane. The plus mode there, hit the sport button, put you over in sport plus. This is a fun mode, folks. This is where those exhaust flaps open wide open. The steering gets nice and tight. The suspension is pretty much like riding on rails. And the brakes get extremely touchy. That's my biggest problem with sport mode is the brakes. The brakes are insanely touchy and they're really stiff. So if you're sitting at a stoplight and you just ease up a little bit off the brake pedal, the car starts creeping forward. When you're coming up to the stoplight, you're trying to slow down nice and slowly as you downshift on the paddle shifters. Sometimes when it downshifts and it rev matches, you end up slamming on the brake pedal, the whole car jerks forward, your wife gives you a dirty look and you feel like an ass. Well, just try not to do that, but it's pretty fun. Give it a listen. Oh, Aston Martin, I love you. So that's a quick little wrap up on the sport modes. That's for the sport mode for the engine and transmission, and the sport mode for the suspension and brakes. I'm Justin Coupler, the Car Junkie. Keep it locked here for a few more video reviews on the 2020 Aston Martin DBS Superleggera. Ciao.